You may think tic-tac-toe is simple. It's not. In this video, I'm gonna go in depth on why tic-tac-toe is way more complex than you think. But that's not all. I'll also show you some sneaky strategies to make you win more tic-tac-toe games. So tic-tac-toe is more complex than you think for two main reasons. One of them being the strategy. You may think that there's no strategy to tic-tac-toe and you just place X's and O's on a board. You're wrong. Something you want to do in tic-tac-toe is to go first, as going first gives you more chances to force a win or a draw. When you place your piece first, you can force a win. To force a win, you need to do something called forking, which is when you have multiple ways to gain 3 in a row on your next turn. There are multiple ways of doing this, but most of the time either look like this or this, both forcing a win on the next move. Something unfortunate though, if your opponent puts their piece in the middle and plays perfectly, they can force a tie. But if the opponent puts their piece anywhere else, you can force a win. A little tip when you go first, always place your piece in a corner, as this gives you the best chance of forcing a win against your opponent. Because when you fork, all your pieces tend to be in corner squares, which means if you start at a corner square, you have a chance of forking. So all the advice I just gave is for when you place your piece first, but you also need to learn how to play when you place your piece second. When you have to play second, if your opponent places their piece in any corner, always play your first piece in the center, because doing this allows you to defend any chance of them getting 3 in a row, which means you can force a draw or a win if they mess up. If your opponent places their first piece in the center, you should place your first piece in a corner, as this will allow you to force a draw if you play perfectly, or even force a win if the opponent makes a mistake. If your opponent places their piece on an edge that is in a corner, it's possible you can win. Place your piece in the center, and if your opponent places their next piece on the opposite edge, you can force a win. And now that you know how to win as many tic-tac-toe games as possible, I'm gonna go over the real reason on why tic-tac-toe is way more complex than you think, which is the different versions of tic-tac-toe. For some reason, tic-tac-toe has many different versions of it, so I'm just gonna go over the popular ones. One of those being Ultimate Tic-Tac-Toe. In Ultimate Tic-Tac-Toe, you make one big tic-tac-toe board. Then you add small tic-tac-toe boards in each square. And just like in normal tic-tac-toe, one person is X, and one person is O. In the small tic-tac-toe boards, you'll play a game as normal, but when someone wins the game on the small board, the letter they chose will be on the big board like this. If a game ties on the small boards, neither X or O will be able to claim the board. The goal is to get 3 in a row on the big square. So like normal, X will always go first, and they can choose any board they want. But wherever they place their piece, will decide the board the next player will place a piece. So if the player decides to place an X on the bottom right on a board, the next player will have to place their O somewhere on the bottom right board. If that player places their O on the top left, the next player will have to place their X somewhere on the top left board, and it keeps going like that. Now something I find even crazier than Ultimate Tic-Tac-Toe is numerical Tic-Tac-Toe. It's pretty much the same as normal Tic-Tac-Toe, but instead of using X's and O's, you're using numbers. To win in this, the numbers used to get 3 in a row have to add up to 15. It seems simple, but there are a few weird rules. If you go first, you can't place a 5 in the middle because doing this guarantees a win. Also, no one owns any pieces on the board. If your opponent already has an 8 and a 6 on the board, if you then place a 1, that counts as your 3 in a row, and you win. You also can't use the same number choice in a game. I personally find some of these rules kind of strange, but I somehow found a version of tic-tac-toe that is even weirder than anything else I've mentioned in this video. That being tic-tac-grow. In tic-tac-grow, you can pretty much expand the board into any direction to help you win. To expand the board, you need to place your piece on one of the edges or corners on the board. If you place one of your pieces on one of the edges, you will make a new row in that direction. If you place your piece on one of the corners, you make 2 new rows, because all the corner squares qualify for 2 rows. For example, the top left corner is in the top row, as well as the left row, so it will expand into both. If you place a piece in the center, no expansion will happen. To win in tic-tac-grow, you need to get 4 in a row, which means expanding is required to win. And that pretty much explains tic-tac-grow. If you found this video interesting and want to see more content like this, click here to subscribe.